if there's money available, it's not going to go to clean water. It's going to go to feeding the man who feeds the family.
Y después nos vamos al atajado para lavar la ropa y bañarnos.
The water looks clear, but that doesn't mean it's good to drink. One of the things that happen is once the water is in contact with bacteria, that is not good, especially fecal coliforms. Where are the fecal coliforms? When the water gets into contact with excrement from animals. That's not good water to drink because that bacteria can cause diarrhea and children can get sick and then they can die. And that's one of the major causes of mortality here in these areas.
¿Tú crees que te enfermas de tomar el agua durante la época seca?
No usamos el agua.
Pues ahorita van a cocinar chichita nomás. Van a preparar chicha con el agua.
She actually told me that she does get 6 buckets each day, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon for several uses, drinking, cooking, sometimes washing.
Y la cena. Y después nos vamos al atajado para lavar la ropa y bañarnos.
During the dry season, they're only allowed to take 2 buckets, but she is getting more right now at the end of the afternoon for preparing chicha. So she's getting 6 more.
For each of the water sources that's collected for daily consumption by the community, we're testing for various factors of water quality. We are testing for pH, which kind of affects on different types of materials used for making wells and conduits, such as metal. If it's a low pH, it can cause leaching of the metal. We're testing for bacteria, including coliform bacteria and E. coli, which is another form of coliform. We're also testing for nitrates and phosphates, which can be found in detergents or fertilizers, to make sure that the sources aren't contaminated.
So yeah, I'll see you probably next to the church and then pray for me.
Yeah. We're not gonna.
The plates do show that there's not as much bacteria in the wells, but there's a ton of bacteria in the lakes, which is concerning because they go to the lakes for their water in the dry season.
The data that you're collecting definitely fits the answers to the surveys and the questions that we're asking out in the villages during the dry season when the bacteria, when the E. coli is more common. They're getting more of these illnesses and they're being more careful, but it's not working.
So those chloroform plates are so high. There's so much bacteria in it that it's crazy. It's ridiculous that they have to drink that water. I can't even.
I was talking to the villagers about their most common sicknesses, and since we saw E. coli, I found they had a lot of diarrhea, symptoms of headache, fever, dysentery. Most of them would try to treat it at home, but it would get worse enough to go to the hospital and get treatment. And it was it's very common, and it leads to a compromised immune system, which then leads to other illnesses like pneumonia. It's kind of the stepping stone for getting severe sickness.
They're asking me to fix the pumps that currently exist. Well, if I fix the pumps that currently exist, these girls will not be able to go to school and attend school like they're supposed to. They're going to be helping their mother during the morning while their brothers go to school. They're going to have to go and wait online. And we heard today already that sometimes the line is 50 people long at some of these pumps. The problem that I'm seeing here in San Antonio, it's this problem of education of women. And one of the things I'm seeing here is exactly the same problem. They're trying to fix a solution that is not going to help educate these women. The solution is to explain to them the need for independence and to tell them that to be independent, they either have to have an ability to pay for the fixing of a submerged pump, one that will allow the water to be pumped up to a elevated tank, and that way the water gets to the house and the mother doesn't have to send her daughters to go get the pails of water.
It's just really surprising to see that these houses have huge satellite dishes, yet they have no means of delivering water to the houses, just no running water.
Posados uno sobre otro hasta alcanzar los 90 metros de altura.
Ay, qué lindo. Dame. So we're visiting the elevated tank for the village of San Antonio de Lomerio. This is the tank that when we saw the initial assessment of a town asking for help to revitalize and resurrect their water system, we were told that this tank had never been used in the last 3 or 4 years. I believe it was made 10 years ago, and it's been full probably around 6 months. And again, one of the problems of development work, when they decided to come down here and do this project, they really weren't sure if the village had the means to fix the pumps that were needed to elevate the height of this tank. So they left it dry.
3 in the morning. 3 in the morning?
Somebody turn on the light at 3 in the morning. The villagers were telling me about this natural spring that existed up here. 2 days ago, we actually dug into this and created a system called a weir. The weir is a method of measuring the volumetric flow rate in an area like this where it's very hard to actually have some elevation. As you can see here, there's a very little flow rate going through here. It's definitely not enough for the 2,000 inhabitants of this village, but at least we have proof to show them that this was not a viable source.
So yeah, I'd say 6 still. I mean, didn't look any darker.
Will this weir, will it over time maybe trickle?
In the wetter
Possibly.
season, season.
It probably will trickle to a lot, but the whole point of coming here is because this is the driest season.
Right.
So if we can make sure that the minimum flow rate of the year is enough for the houses that need to be fed by this spring, then we're okay. And this just goes to show you how sometimes villagers have no idea what a flow rate is or what to expect. They see all this water and say, oh, we've got tons of water. Look at the spring that's feeding it. But the reality of it is probably this place is really clayey and no water is leaking underneath. Tonight, when I go up in front of the podium, I'm going to tell them that if you have stories of water, either good or bad, we'd like to hear them. And we'd like to have a discussion about some of the really bad diseases that they've had. Para ustedes. Creo que hoy ustedes miraron que estamos yendo por todos los pozos que están aquí.
Este pueblo y para muchas poblaciones a la que pertenece este municipio. Gracias.
Gracias.
A don Lucas el selfie,
Well, I think, especially from an engineering student standpoint, it's very refreshing to see a project that you can see all the way from initialization through to completion. And that is something that is not very often offered in typical courses. So I think that this is a really good opportunity for a lot of the students. We definitely foresee in the future working with materials to educate the people around here about proper use of water, about how to maintain the wells.
The purpose of our meeting tonight is to basically show everybody the work we've done the last 4 days here in San Antonio de los Medellos.
These are the statistics we got from the hospital. The doctor was nice enough to give us a chart on the past year of all the sicknesses and each month.
We've got to show the villagers this is going through. And I told them from my part, from the part of VCU and James River chapter, we're going to do it. Now it's your part to make sure that you're listening to the voices of these people and then the money goes in the right way. And from my experience, there's a lot of money that stays in these accounts until some catastrophic failure of a pump or something they needed. Well, it could be years before they actually use the money. And so many times, a lot of it finds its way into other coffers.
This trip is amazing. I can't even begin to describe. I'm only a sophomore in college. I'm 19. Who would have thought I would be traveling abroad and giving a village water that they haven't had for months because of the dry season.
Gracias. Agradecido.
Okay, gracias.
Sería rico el pueblo para decirle la inquietud de ustedes y también la de nosotros para que esto encamine.
Perfecto. Gracias.